Hello everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to make this cat ear balaclava. For your materials, you'll need about 300 grams of a weight 6 or chunky yarn, a 6mm hook and a darning needle, as well as scissors and some form of a stitch marker. Bobby pins or safety pins are a good alternative. You can also head right on over to my Instagram for a free written pattern, and please don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. Let's begin. For step 1, we're going to start by making a slip knot. I'm going to show you how to do all these parts very slowly, so that way if you've never crocheted before, we can get right on into it. Start by holding the tail end with your thumb and forefinger, and with the same fingers on the other hand, insert and flip the yarn over like so. You're then going to use this bottom piece and pull up and through to make a slip knot. From there, we are going to be inserting our hook and very lightly pulling on the yarn to fasten it. It should still move up and down your hook. Too tight and you won't be able to continue the next steps. To hold your yarn, you're going to want to wrap it around, so maybe your index finger or middle finger, and then hold the tail end again with your middle and thumb, or whatever feels the most comfortable. To make a chain, you are going to wrap the yarn around your hook, twist it, and pull it through the loop already on your hook. Showing you again because we need to make 4 of these. Slowly wrap it around and pull through, and you're just going to continue doing that until you have 4 total chains. Once you have made all 4 of your chains here, you will have the foundation for what's called a chain ring. If you take a look at these little braided pieces, you will make a slip stitch into the very first one that you made. You do this by inserting your hook into it while still leaving the other loop like this. So you'll have 2 on your hook. To actually make the stitch itself, you're going to yarn over like you were making a chain and then pull it through both of those 2 loops, so you only have 1 left. To finish off your chain ring, you'll find that little hole in the middle. That's where we're going to be putting things into afterwards. But for now, you're just going to want to chain 1 more time so we can begin to work into the hole. We are going to be using half double crochets here, which you make by yarning over like you were making a chain, but this time instead of pulling through, you're going to insert it through the little ring of your chain ring. From here, you're going to yarn over again like you were going to chain, this time pulling it through that ring. So you will have 3 total loops now on your hook. From here, you're going to yarn over again, this time pulling it through all 3 of those loops. So yarning over like this, pulling through all 3 until you only have 1 left. I also think if you have your little stitch markers with you, it's easiest to mark the stitch you just made so we can come back to it later. From this point on, you are going to be making 5 more half double crochets the way we just did to have 6 total inside of that ring. Make sure that you keep going into the same hole. Once you are back all the way around, you'll find that first half double crochet we made, which will be marked with your stitch marker, and make another slip stitch. Again, to slip stitch, you'll insert it through the stitch you want to go into, yarn over like you're going to make a chain, and pulling it through both loops on your hook. And then to finish off this row, you are going to chain 1 time. For our next row, since we want to build out the base of the hat, we're going to be using something called an increase. An increase is when you do 2 or more of the same stitch into 1 stitch. So here we'll be doing our first half double crochet normally, and then adding a second half double crochet into that same exact stitch. Here I'm just moving the stitch marker again to show you how to keep track. This will be the last time I'm using it, but you can continue throughout the piece. But from there, you want to go into that exact same stitch you just put your half double crochet into and add a second one. The zoom in is a bit hard to see, but we're going right back next to the one here, making sure that there is 2 half double crochets in that 1 stitch. And from there, you're going to continue all the way around, adding 2 half double crochets to every stitch for a total of 12. This is because we made 6 half double crochets in the first row, and we're doubling it with these increases. At the end here, we will slip stitch back into that first stitch that we made, removing the stitch marker. If you would like to put it back in the next row, be my guest, but I'm putting it aside for now since it's going to get in my way. Slip stitch the same way I've been showing you, basically just pulling through the 2, and then chain 1 more time to start our next row. This is where we're going to begin the very repetitive steps of increasing your base to fit the top of your head. So to do this, our first step will be to do 1 half double crochet, and then in the following stitch, do 1 increase. So this is done by doing just 1 half double crochet in the first stitch here, and then rather than doing 2 in the same like we did in the last row, move over to your next stitch. In that stitch, we will be doing 2 in the same one. And what this is going to do is create a circle as we repeat these steps of 1 then 2 then 1 then 2 that isn't ruffly. It should lay totally flat as we continue to build it out. If you're getting ruffles, make sure you are counting exactly the right way. At the end of this row, you will have 24 total stitches. And once you know that you are done, you will make your slip stitch and chain 1 into the first half double crochet so we can continue building up our rows. To show you another example here, for the row following, we are going to be doing 1 half double crochet into the first stitch, another into the second stitch, and then 1 more increase or 2 half double crochets into the third stitch. And then again, you're going to continue to repeat that pattern all the way around your row. What you'll be noticing is you're basically adding 12 extra stitches per row. This row will then end up with 36 stitches. Count slowly so you don't lose track of where you are. And what we'll be doing in between every single row is a slip stitch and a chain 1. And once you're done, I want you to make sure that it's still laying flat, because what we're going to be doing from here is continuing to build out the base pattern. So I've listed one more example for you, which is 1 half double crochet 3 times in a row, followed by your increase, and then afterwards even shortening it more to 1 1 1 1 increase. You're going to be continuing this pattern of adding 1 extra half double crochet before your increase every time you make a new row. Again, we do things this way so that way everything lays flat and doesn't end up roughly as you're building up the base of your hat. I made 9 rows total. If your head is a bit bigger than mine or smaller than mine, you'll fluctuate between like 1 or 2 rows tops. And of course, please leave me a comment if you're stuck on this step. I'd love to help. Once you have completed the base of your hat, we're going to do a little shape check here. As you can see, mine lays flat and it is much bigger than where we started. This is about what yours should look like with a little bit of differences for sizing. From this point on, we're going to be doing some half double crochet stitches, 1 in every stitch around the piece. We'll be doing these rows from basically the top of your head or the line of your forehead down to just above your eyebrows. You're going to want to make sure that you are doing your slip stitches and your chain 1 in between every row until you reach the length about what I'm showing you here in this video. For me, this ended up being 4 rows, but this could be totally different for you. And as you can see, I'm using stitch markers here to mark out where I want the hole for my eyes to be. Once you are done with your length, you're going to add stitch markers here. Now what we're going to want to do is half double crochet over to your first stitch marker for your next row. This is the row that we're going to build the hole for your eyes and eyebrows, so you want to make sure you're following these steps very carefully. Count the amount of stitches in between your 2 stitch markers, and then you're going to make a chain equal to that number plus 2 extras. That's going to account for the height of the little hole that your eyes will go through. To reattach, you are going to make a half double crochet like this, right back into the stitch with your stitch marker on the other side of the gap. From this point on, you're going to continue to half double crochet all the way around until you reach the end of this row. You'll now have this little gap here, which will be where your eyes are going to go, so that way you can have room for both your eyebrows as well as your eyes and maybe the top of your nose. If you were looking to make this a little bit bigger, you can add a few more chains to that little gap. To continue building up the piece, you're going to add more half double crochet rows. And if you look at the video here, you're going to see me making half double crochets into that chain, which I just wanted to show you in case you were confused on how to continue with the half double crochets. I am doing 3 rows here to cover the bottom of my nose. Again, this could be different from person to person. You might need 2, you might need 4. So whatever you're doing, make sure yours looks similar to mine, but fitted to your own face. Again, it's important to remember that to do form fitting, all of our patterns will be a little different. And for step 22, we're really going to get into some of these differences where I show you how to actually fit it to your face. Because I know that I want it to be a bit slimmer on my cheekbones, I have a long and narrow face shape, I'm going to be doing 2 decreasing stitches on the sides of my balaclava. So as you can see here, I'm just half double crocheting over to the stitches that I just made. And what we're going to do when we actually get to the decreasing stitches, if you've never made one before, is start by removing your little stitch marker. And then you're going to make the start of a half double crochet. So simply yarn over and insert your hook, but this time, rather than chaining or yarning over again and pulling through, you're going to push through like so, and then come back out into the following stitch. So watch very closely because it should look like this at this point, and now you will yarn over again and pull it through. You'll yarn over again through all 3 loops, and that's going to make a very solid sort of decreasing stitch or put those 2 together. Now that you know both how to do an increase and a decrease, what you're going to want to do is make these sorts of stitches until they fit your face specifically. Listed are the steps that I'm taking to make mine. I even go down a bit for my neck, where I just do a few regular half double crochet rows. Now, if you have a different face shape, you can pause and read some steps here for a bit of an example of what you'd be doing. For my friends with a wider face or a more square face, you'll want to do more increasing than decreasing compared to mine, or you might just want to leave it totally flat up and down, adding nothing fancy and just doing regular half double crochets. Again, please reach out to me in the comment section or on Instagram and I'll help you. To finish off your piece here, you will do your final slip stitch and your chain 1, but this time, rather than continue another row, you want to take your scissors and cut a small piece here. Once you've cut, you'll pull it through and pull tight to make a little knot, and what we're going to do is something called weaving in the ends. To weave in your end, you're basically going to take your hook like I'm doing here and pull this yarn tail into the back of the hat. I'm then going to start pulling it through the backs of different stitches and trimming it off like so. You could stop there, or you can make a cute bow to go around the neck, which is what I'm showing you here. I'm simply just going to make a slip knot and a very, very long chain, which you can adjust to whatever length you would like. To match the same length as mine from the start of the video, you would make 150 chains, which is what I made for mine. But of course, you can alter that as you please. You'll finish this off the same way you finished your hat, chaining 1 and cutting your yarn, and you'll have something cute like this. To make the ears, if you are choosing to do so, you will again start with a slip knot, and this time we're going to make another chain ring. If you remember the steps from the start, you're going to chain 4 times, and then slip stitch into that first chain that you made. After you have done your slip stitch, you will chain 1 more time, and then you can begin to make your rows. The rows are going to be a little bit different in this sort of piece. Rather than going all the way around to make circles, you're just going to make 3 half double crochets directly into the ring. This is what we're going to do to make triangles for the cute little cat ears. So once you have made all 3 of your half double crochets here, and you don't have to perfectly tuck in the tail like I did, you can just trim it later, you're going to see this piece that kind of looks like the tip of an ear. You're going to chain 1 time, turn your work like so, and place 1 half double crochet increase into that corner stitch. So it will be 2 half double crochets into your first stitch here, and then into the middle you're just going to place 1. So at this point your row would be 3 half double crochets. From there you will place another increase into the corner to have a total of 5 half double crochets in this row. And once you are finished with it, you will see that it's forming into a larger shaped triangle. Into your next row, you're going to continue this pattern by first chaining 1 and then adding your increase to the corner stitch. So if our last row was 5 half double crochets, this one will be 7 because both corners are going to have increases while the middles are just going to have regular half double crochets. This is the basis for building any sort of a triangle. I think it works the easiest because it doesn't leave you with any weird decreasing on the sides. You're just simply building it up to the height that you want it. And again, once you've done your increase, you'll chain and continue going around. I make 5 total rows, which would be 3 more from this point. When you are cutting your edge here, you are going to want to leave a very long tail so we can use it to sew it into the hat in a little bit. You'll still function the same way you did before, pulling all the way through like so. And of course, you're just going to want to tuck that end in once you're done. Make sure that you have 2 ears before sewing them on, and we're going to start by attaching the little bowstring first. So taking that nice long chain before, if you did make one, you're going to want to find 4 rows up the neck, or maybe 3, it depends honestly on where you stopped the height of your balaclava, and then you're going to find just left of the middle. Going from the inside to the outside, pull up on your string like so, and you're then going to want to begin to weave it in like this. I'm skipping 1 stitch in between and then pulling from underneath the hat and back out. Again, I will skip 1 stitch and this time pull it back in like so. If you sew, it's sort of like making a running stitch manually with your hook. If you don't, just think of it as you're weaving in and out. Continue this all the way around. To sew the ear on, we're going to do this a little bit differently with an actual darning needle. Starting by threading your needle like so, you'll make sure that the end goes through here, and we're going to go about 3 rows down from the top of your hat. Inserting through the top of the balaclava first, then through the ear, you're going to do a very simple running stitch, basically just going in and out of both the ear and the hat. Watch carefully here if you've never sewn before. It's very simple where you are quite literally just going into one part and into the other afterwards. You will fasten your ear on by inserting it through the actual headpiece itself. So after you make your last stitch, you just want to insert it straight inside of this piece here. We'll worry about weaving in the ends later. For now, just tuck it out of the way so we can sew on the other ear. Steps are exactly the same, just make sure you're going into the same ring that you started sewing into. Now you're going to go inside of the headpiece like this, so you can find those long tails that you wove in. I'm just using my hook, and you can weave them in however you please. I like to make little knots and then maybe trim them a bit. So if you start like this and maybe weave it through 1 or 2 more pieces, then you can just trim your yarn afterwards with a scissor. Weaving is all up to personal preference though. I know some people like to use the darn needle all the way, but I will always prefer my hook. And from there, your piece is done. Thank you all so much for watching today's video, and meet me back here next Sunday at 1 p.m. for another one. You can check out my socials listed on the left there, or get a membership for the channel for more direct help, choosing video ideas, and much more. Thank you all again, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye!